I think your biggest question is, will I ever be okay again? Will I survive this? Will my marriage survive this? And if you have to do that on your own, I don't know if it's possible.
Welcome to Beyond the Loss, a podcast from the Pregnancy and Infant Loss Support Center. Here, we talk about what life looks like after loss. The quiet moments, the unexpected feelings, the way people find community, and what life looks like in the days, months, and years to come. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to honor the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who have walked this land today and those who have gone before us. I'm your host, Candace Stevenson. Today, we're joined by Peter Smed. He's here today to share what he's learned about legacy, community, and the impact one family can have in the years since his son Scott was stillborn. Thank you for joining us today, Peter.
Thank you.
Many of those connected to the Pregnancy and Infant Loss Support Center will know the name Scott Smed. But for our listeners who may not know your family's story, please tell us about your journey.
It's been almost 26 years. My wife and I got married in September of 2000, and we're pregnant by May. Well into a pregnancy, and which seemed like everything in our life, things were just going our way, and whatever we put our minds to, we could sort of make happen. And I remember coming home and Shannon had a little onesie, and I was like, okay, this is on. And of course they're excited. And about, I don't know, I think probably right around my birthday, so May 19, I was out golfing, believe it or not. And Shannon just noticed that the baby wasn't moving. And she started to get anxious, and we had some music that we used to listen to that would sort of maybe stimulate some movement and things like that, and that wasn't working. And I can quite vividly remember someone running down to the golf course and letting me know that Shannon had gone to the hospital. Wow. And I ran there, and she was already in a pretty mediocre room. And they did an ultrasound, and Scott had already passed. And then that process gets even more surreal. So he was about 21 weeks, and we didn't understand anything about what was going on. But the process is you then get induced, and you have to deliver. And they put you in a hospital room, and you wait, and it's hours, and they begin to ask you questions. Do you want to see your child? Do you want to hold your child? Do you want pictures with your child? Do you want to name your child? And as all that's going on, we really had no idea. And the nurses had been trained at the time. There was a lady there that was Lucy Pascal, who was overseeing the nurses and training them on loss. And the nurses handled it so well. They said, don't worry about it. You don't need to make a decision. You don't need to do anything. And sure enough, we spent about 12 hours grieving. And then Shannon delivered Scott. And it wasn't until that moment that we knew we wanted to hold him and to name him. We didn't have a name until we saw him. And then it just came. And we spent some time. They did the footprints. And then he was gone. And at the time, Lucy had set up a program And what they had discovered was that the most important part of a sort of recovering or starting to move through the process was creating some memories so that Scott was real. So naming him is valuable, holding him, pictures. You leave the hospital with a receiving blanket and a stuffed bear and something that you can sort of start to attach. And we didn't realize it, but like I said, the nurses had done an amazing job of making that inconceivable experience somehow survivable. And we went home and we couldn't function. So we got in our car and we went down to Crow's Nest Pass and hid in a cabin for a few days. We couldn't see people. We couldn't really talk to people. We were just trying to come to terms with what it all meant. And that was the beginning of sort of a really pretty miraculous process.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is a lot. Yeah, it was signing papers. You have to sign a death certificate. That's surreal. I remember leaving the hospital and we were hungry, so we went by a McDonald's to grab some food, and someone was complaining about their order. Their fries were cold. And I was so mad. I thought, your fries are cold. Wow, that's just a horrific day. I can't imagine. And that's when we knew we needed to get out of Dodge, because we just couldn't relate to the world from our perspective. At that time, we weren't capable of really even understanding it.
You went to a cabin. You're relatively off the grid. We're not talking about cell phones in hand, connecting to your work still. Like, you guys just took that time together to process and to start grieving what you didn't think that week was going to look like. Is that correct?
When we found out he had passed and we were going to deliver that 10 hours, we grieved. I slept on the foot of the bed. There was no place for a father to be. There was no Scott Smed rooms and things like that. And so that was the only place for me. And it's probably, for me and Shannon, it's the closest we've ever been and the most connected we've ever been. And I think it's tempting in that place to maybe just set it aside for a while, or not deal with it or resist it. And we didn't. We just decided to let it be and let it sort of take us over. And that was some of the most sacred, important time of my life. It always will be. So we've come to believe that Scott was never meant to be here. That in our interpretation, he just came to teach us a lesson, and hundreds of lessons. So our life is unlike it was from the moment Scott passed. Our life was never the same, and it's been richer and better and more meaningful and more connected and more just more full. And I think Shannon and I were both really fortunate. We were successful business people, and life came pretty easy to us, and we had gotten everything we wanted. We needed nobody. We were completely independent. And after Scott, we were broken, and we were incapable of helping ourselves. We were incapable of dealing with it. We were lost, and people showed up. People just started showing up. and we let them help us. And that was something I don't think either Shannon or I, we were always helping people. Never occurred to us that we needed help. And that changed our lives again forever.
Can you tell me just a little bit more about that experience, that community?
People showed up, like I said, and were willing to do anything. So that turned into a golf tournament with 156 people 3 months later.
Wow.
They were there purely for us because they knew how much it meant for them to come and honor our son. And of course, for the first few years of the tournament, every time it comes around, you're grieving. Mm-hmm. And they were there to grieve with us. That tournament was miraculous. I've never been in any charity event like it.
You said 3 months later, you have your first golf tournament.
Yeah.
In the name of your son. Where did the idea come from?
Well, the day before our wedding, we had gone golfing with another couple. And we said, wouldn't it be neat if next year for our anniversary, we had a little tournament and raised a little money for something?
Wow.
And as you haven't met my wife, she is a force and she is a doer. So for her primary way of dealing with life, loss, joy, everything is to accomplish something, do something. Once she put her arms around it and decided that that was going to happen, there was no doubt of that. And we sold out probably in 60 days. It was a miracle. It was Scott. Scott had T-shirts and swag and branded stuff and a website. And we had beverages on 6 holes, food on 6 holes, and prizes on 6 holes. There was so much going on, and it was just fun and play. And I remember often people would call me Scott. They didn't know me. And so they'd go, "Oh, Scott, it's so nice to meet you." And that kind of meant the world to me.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you guys have grown your tournament grown Scott's tournament over the years?
Yeah, so we ran it for 15 years. And again, that was her idea. So the story of it was, at first it was a strategy, probably a coping strategy, to be busy, mm-hmm. and also to create meaning out of his life. We went out on a high. We had all these things in place. We left a reserve fund that was feeding the programs. So we ended up building Scott Smed rooms in all the hospitals. So a Scott Smed room has a lazy boy for dad, and it has a TV and a VCR back then for kids.
Oh,
so
wow.
that family could all be in the room. It's decorated. It has window treatments and art, and it doesn't feel like a hospital room. And yet it had all the medical equipment necessary. And so now in Calgary, and since then, anyone experiencing a loss they attempt to move into a Scott Smed room because it's built for that. We do probably, every few months we get a note from someone who had a loss in one of those rooms and explains how profoundly it changed their experience.
Wow.
And so the tournament over the 15 years raised $1.5 million. And we built rooms. There's rooms in every hospital. In the South Campus, there's a triage center for someone experiencing maybe a miscarriage or a loss. It was important that our city and our hospitals were able to provide such a sacred place for us to have that horrible experience in.
You've had this loss and you have a vision for a family. You still want a family, and you're figuring out how you keep moving forward. So can you tell me a little bit about your family?
If we don't do the work and we don't grieve and we don't process what happened, then I don't know how we move forward. And I don't think it was that long after that we were pregnant again. I mean, it would have been a while, but not that long, a year. And then Shannon miscarried. And then again, and after months of prodding and poking and all the stuff that's just for her was the worst possible experience, she gets pregnant again and she has a tubal ligation.
Oh, wow.
So, and I saw her going in for surgery, that she just said, I don't think I can do it anymore. And the hardest part is to risk having your heart broken again. And every one of those losses feels the same. And my family has adopted children. And that process actually was pretty seamless, I think. With both our children, we're super overprotective. Our daughter just went off to university, and I realized I don't always approve of helicopter parents and overbearing parents. I'm pretty attached, so I'm having a real hard time with her being away, and so it's hard not to let that loss affect your fear of loss. And we're working on it.
So you spoke a little bit about the evolution from the Scott Smed rooms, and the Scott Smed Foundation is now the title sponsor of PILSC's Legacy Run and Walk each June. What made you want to support this event in such a meaningful way? With
the PILSC organization, I met a DT, and I knew right away that Shannon would like a DT. And we went to I think Shannon came to the first run walk. And that's the first place I've been since the Scott Smed Golf Tournament that felt like that.
Oh, wow.
There's people all around wearing T-shirts, say I'm running for Jason or for Violet or whatever. They all have matching shirts. It's grandparents and friends and sons and daughters, and it had nothing to do with running or walking. It was just a community of people all coming together to lift up and support families who had experienced a loss. And the goodwill and the sense of community at that event was amazing. I think I was out with Danielle and a DT, and they were telling me they had lost some funding from the provincial government, and that the title sponsor, who was great, had just decided that was the end of their run. And it was, so now all I had to do was figure out how to present this in a way that Shannon could embrace it. And she likes the idea of Scott's name being front and center. So it was an immediate yes. And really, it's nice to be connected with the community again. The people that go to the Scott Smed tournament, the people that go to the Tiny Footprints Gala, or the people that go to the Run Walk, they're the survivors. They're the ones who are doing all the things to make their child's life meaningful, and to make sure that they do the work so that their other children and their families can go on and have a rich, rewarding life. So the idea of getting to people in the hospital at the time of the loss and making sure that they understand that there is a path and there is a way, because I think your biggest question is, will I ever be okay again?
Yeah.
Will I survive this? Will my marriage survive this? And if you have to do that on your own, I don't know if it's possible. And these programs, and when they're successful, change that. And that changes Calgary, that changes Alberta, that changes everything.
So what would you say to someone who is thinking of supporting the center?
If you have a chance to help one person, one family, that seems like money well spent. We live in a place where our government has all but acknowledged that they don't know what to do about mental health. This is mental health. If my daughter learns and my son learns how to grieve and deal with loss and the challenges that life's going to throw at them, if she learns the skill sets from Shannon and I, or he learns the skill sets because we learn them from Scott or from PILSC or from whatever, I mean, that's as good as you can hope for the world, right? That's worth something. That changes community.
When you talk about your journey, something I feel like we don't hear about as much is after a loss, the emotions that come with subsequent pregnancies. And you mentioned that you and Shannon had subsequent pregnancies. Do you remember what that felt like?
Yeah, that part is just, that gets you to it's unfair. Mm-hmm. It feels like, okay, Scott was a lesson. It's turning into a blessing. We're doing all the things to make it meaningful and to make a difference. And now this. It's like, when is it enough? The worry about not being able to survive it or not knowing what to do is gone, because we did. We survived it already once. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think there was ever any doubt that we would, the second time and the third time, that we would get through it, because we had before. And I mean, as much as you don't want to learn those lessons all the time, it's pretty valuable. Like I said, something's going to happen someday to just about all of us. Isn't it nice to know that you have what you need to be able to navigate it and survive it and do it in a way that is graceful and supports your family in that? It's so, tragedy's not pretty, but the lessons are better than success. You learn more from difficulty than you do from success, I can assure you.
When you think of Scott's legacy, how would you describe that?
It's funny, if I picture him as a spirit, I just picture him as like a Buddha.
Oh.
He's kind of this wise soul watching us learn. And he goes, of course. It's like, he's not surprised by any of it, right? He's not surprised when it goes bad. He's not surprised when it goes good. He's not surprised. He's just the sage one going, here you go. Here's an opportunity. And he knew people would show up. And he knew that we would figure a way through it. And he knew that we would find a way to have a family. And he knew, at no point, I don't think, did Scott ever have doubt. So I don't worry about his legacy. It's more, I guess I'm realizing it now. He changed me. So, like I said, I believe he laid down his life so that I could learn those lessons.
That's beautiful.
I don't know if that's true. That's how it feels.
Before we close today, is there anything that you'd like to add or anything that you feel like our listeners should know?
Just what comes to mind is I haven't talked about Scott a lot. It's been 26 years, and I don't wake up every day and think about him. I forget his birthday sometimes. We usually catch it. Go to the tournament, I think about him. Or go to the run walk, I think about him. But I love talking about him. And so I miss it. And I think every parent who suffers a loss, as much as you think it would be uncomfortable, you may not want to talk about it, that's also not true. So I could talk about Scott all day, every day, if someone genuinely was interested. And I'm really grateful for the chance through the sponsorship and through this to just remind myself how much it means to me to just to talk about him. It's funny. I think of him the way I think of my living children. It feels like he gets me and I get him. And of course, we never really met, but it feels like that. And so what parent wouldn't have all the time in the world to talk about their child? And Scott's got away lucky. He never disappointed us. So he never had to go through the hardships of life. He never had to go out and struggle or whatever. So he got to be perfect, which is a nice way to see. Sometimes I can be hard on my own children. I guess I should remember that. I probably give Scott a lot more grace than I give them. But it is kind of nice to have that perfect, pure, innocent vision of him.
Thank you for sharing your journey, for talking about Scott, for talking about your family. I know it's so meaningful to our listeners to get to hear other stories, even when they're hard to share or even when they make us vulnerable. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being my guest today, Peter. And thank you for our listeners. If you or someone you love is seeking support, the Pregnancy and Infant Loss Support Center offers free counseling, coaching, groups, and programs. These programs are made possible by donors and supporters. Visit PILSC.org for more information. You can also visit PILSC.org to learn more about the legacy, run, and walk. Until next time, this is Beyond the Loss.